What's up, guys? This is your girl Erica, and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having an amazing day thus far. I am here to do my review of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do understand because this is actually new for me. I have been doing so many other shows, but this is the first time that I'm reviewing Salt Lake City. Of course, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City isn't new to me because I have been watching since season 1. So I was there through all of the mess, with Jen Shah, Jenny, Black Eye Gate, all of that. I think season 4, I kind of fell off a little bit, but I picked it right back up in season 5, and I have been going strong ever since. So like I said, hang in there with me, guys, because I am going to do this entire season of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I think if you go back and just sort of scroll through the videos that I've made, I think I only did one video or one review of the Salt Lake City girls, but hey, if you want to go back and even watch that one, that would be great. I would greatly appreciate it. But if not, that's fine. Just hang in there with me because we're going to have a great season. Now, let me just say this. I am old school. I take notes. I'm new to the YouTube family as far as reviewing shows, but I do know that it's important to take notes. I can pretty much go off the top of my head as to what went on, but then there are some times where you need to refer back to your notes. So I will do that a little bit throughout this review. So let's get started. Of course, this is season 6, episode 1, and it was called Hotdogs and Hearsay. So, what I will say about Salt Lake City, every season, whenever they come on, I will say their production is phenomenal. The cinematography is fantastic. All the editing and everything, it is simply perfect. It gets no better than that. So just for them, how it opened up, I really like that. I like that Mary was actually the narrator for this season. Normally it would be someone else, but I like that for Mary. We know Mary to be sort of kooky and quirky, and she says all of those little quirky type things, but it was good to hear her voice and her narrating something on a more serious note. But I love the introduction to it. It was just sort of setting the scene and sort of painting the picture of how this season is actually going to go. But the opening scene, we see Angie K she actually arrives at Mary's home, and she's driving an RV, or she picks up Mary in an RV. Well, what we see is that the girls are actually going to go on a trip. They have no idea where they're going. They're probably assuming it's going to be some type of glamping or some type of luxurious, accommodations. Well, they have no idea that they're just going to be roughing it at a campsite. Angie goes and picks up Mary. Of course, it's good to see Mary. Mary comes out with all of her camping gear and everything she needs for the trip. And Angie tells her that it's actually her RV. She tells she tells Mary, Angie tells Mary that, this is something like a family tradition for her, that her and Sean have actually been, taking RV trips with their daughter Electra, and it's sort of become like a tradition for her, and this is something that she loves. So she thought that it would be good for the girls to actually participate in something like this time. So of course, Angie sort of teases Mary and saying that I'm going to drive, and Mary's kind of like, oh my God, I'm a little scared. But it's good to see Angie and Mary in a good place. Their friendship seems to be intact. We will see how it goes throughout the season, but right now things are good. It appears as if Mary is supposed to be co-hosting the trip, but Mary really doesn't like camping. She doesn't like, the nature thing. She doesn't like the bugs. Mary told us that she likes to go zip lining, but as far as all of the other things in nature, Mary just doesn't want to get dirty. She doesn't like mud on her shoes. She doesn't, Mary likes her fashions, her labels, and she just wants to sit and be pretty. So I don't know how Mary is going to do with, throughout this entire trip, but we'll see. So anyway, like I said, she's supposed to be co-hosting. I don't think she's going to claim that. As a matter of fact, I don't think she did. In one of her, in her confessional, she kind of said, okay, hey, this is not A1 for me. This is not something that I will like. It's not glamorous enough. But, she was a good sport about it. So the girls, they arrive, we see all of the ladies at Beauty Lab, which is Heather's business. They're standing outside. Of course, they're all dressed and ready to go on the trip. They don't don't really know what they have planned because they were told, you know, they have their boots. But then we see Brittany saying, hey, I have a bikini on underneath her clothes. So the girls were out there and everyone is there. So we have Whitney, we have Meredith, we have Heather, we have Bronwyn, we have Brittany. The only one that's missing is Lisa. Now, this is a question that I have for you guys. Whitney actually changed her hair color. I actually like Brittany with the sort of spice cognac look. I think it's different. Physically, as far as physical appearance wise, Whitney is the only one that has somewhat changed her look this particular season. I don't know if some of the other ladies would do it throughout the season, but so far it's just Whitney who sort of looks a little different. And I actually like it. You know, we've known Whitney to be blonde for the past 5 seasons. And now she's more like, I guess you would say a redhead. And I kind of like that on Brittany. I actually do. It will probably... I can see Brittany keeping it for a while. I don't think she will stay that way, but like I said, I think it was just a nice change. So anyway, the ladies are talking. Meredith reveals that Lisa's not going before they're actually picked up. And then so they're wondering where Angie is, and Meredith said that Lisa's not coming. Well, you know, Whitney doesn't seem to be upset. You know, a couple of girls, Bronwyn doesn't seem to be upset. It was funny because Heather, who always kind of gives us some type of comic relief, Heather said that Meredith doesn't like Brittany. Heather says she has a thing with Bronwyn that she needs to work out. She says Angie, Bronwyn, and Whitney do not like Lisa. She said Meredith, she really doesn't know who Mary likes. And I thought that was funny because sometimes you really don't know who Mary has a problem with. I know for a fact that Mary really doesn't care for Brittany, but like I said, anyone can fall on that list at any given point in time. So I thought that was cute when when Heather said that. So Angie K and Mary pull up. They pull up in the RV. They're a little shocked because they're like, okay, what is this? So Angie reveals that they're going on a camping trip. So the girls are like a good sport about it. They're like, okay, they were thinking of something a little more glamorous, but they roll with it anyway. So they get on the bus and they get on the RV, and so they have a flashback. It's almost like deja vu for them because there are these guys dressed in they look like the SWAT team or they look like officers. And they get on the bus and they say, well, you know, we're looking for Whitney. And they're like, oh my God. Like I said, they're having a flashback from when they actually picked up Jen Shah seasons ago when she got in all of that trouble with, you know, the things that she was doing with the fraud and all of those things. So they were having a flashback. Well, Whitney actually set up for some strippers to get on the RV. And so they came in just to lighten the mood. They were dancing and all of those things. So the girls seem to be a really good sport about it. I know Bronwyn said that she's a germaphobe, so I was wondering how she was going to respond to them because it was in such close quarters, but everyone seemed to be having a good time. Angie and Mary had me cracking up because both of them were like, oh my God, like it would be great if these guys weren't so young. You know, Mary even said oh my God, they're young, super young, where are the muscles? And I thought that was really cute because, you know, sometimes Mary can seem to kind of have a stick in up her, you know what, but Mary was kind of cool. And I really like that side of Mary that we're actually seeing. So the girls are ready. They're getting things going. And so they get on the bus and then they start having a great time. So they're headed to their location. I think where they went to was Provo River. So then it comes out and then it's revealed that Lisa, you know, why Lisa didn't come. And it said, I think Angie said that Lisa told her that she has a problem with Bronwyn, so she wasn't coming. So we'll dig more into that because we'll see all of that will be revealed in due time. But of course, like I said, this was just to get everything kicked off. And they pretty much do a really good job of setting everything up in the beginning so that you kind of know what's going on. You really can follow the season from beginning to end because they sort of set the scene in the beginning. So they get on the bus and they start talking and everything's going well. And Brittany reveals that she's good friends with Lisa. And so all the girls are like, oh my God. It's like every time Brittany opens up her mouth, it's like they have this reaction to Brittany. You can just tell that none of them really care for her. She was introduced to us last season through Heather, but I don't think any of these girls have really taken to Brittany. I think that Lisa's probably taken to Brittany because of everything that's going on with her and the other ladies, but they just had this reaction. So she reveals, that, hey, she's friends with Lisa. Of course, Whitney, she reveals her issues with Lisa. Bronwyn talks about her issues with Lisa. And then Heather kind of jumps in and says, well, it doesn't feel good. It seems like it's a gang up. Everyone's talking about Lisa and she's not actually here. And so, but the other girls, they really didn't care. They said, look, they're being honest about how they feel. Like I said, we'll see more as time goes on. But I thought that, like I said, they did a great job at setting everything up. Meredith was pretty quiet this particular episode. She really didn't say a lot. She was more reactionary. Like, she was very reactive to Brittany saying something and all of those things, but she didn't have a whole lot. I was wondering, I'm surprised that, that Meredith has remained like one of the main people on the show, or I guess you would say a snowflake holder, because Meredith doesn't often give a lot, throughout the season. But Meredith didn't say too much. But anyway, so we go on. So Brittany and Whitney, they were going back and forth about Lisa. Everyone was sort of getting in on this action about Lisa. And I want to hear Lisa's side of the story. We know that some things happened during the while they weren't filming, but I want to see what Lisa's going to say. I know there are a lot of Lisa stans out there. I'm not one of them, guys. Sorry. I've just never been a big Lisa fan. I mean, it's just, Lisa loves to call out everyone else, and I think there are some things that she needs to be called out about. And oftentimes when she's called out, she just starts bawling and crying, and we never really get the resolution. But I think this particular time, I think Lisa's going to have to just be called to the carpet and answer for some things. So I'm kind of looking forward to just seeing, what happens with that. So Brittany actually bought camcorders for everyone. And of course, everyone was a little hesitant about it because if you remember in season 5, she was recording them. Season 5, she was actually recording them on the actual bus. They were just riding around. And let me just correct myself, guys. I think I said that I fell off in season 4. I actually fell off in season 3. I don't know why that popped in my head. I watched season 4 because season 4 was the season where Monica was on there. So I definitely watched that entire season. I fell off from Salt Lake City in season 3. I just wanted to say that. I don't know why it just crossed my mind. But anyway, so like I said, she gave them camcorders, and it actually was a good idea because they could actually record their experiences. So once she gave each one of them a camera, they sort of seemed a little more grateful, and they seemed to kind of accept her idea of, the camcorders. So of course, here Brittany goes, I have an announcement. Brittany loves announcements. I don't know what this thing is with her with the pomp and circumstance with these announcements. But she said that her and Jared were actually engaged, and so the girls didn't even, it was like crickets. Like, no one really even said anything, and I felt so bad for Brittany because I was like, oh my gosh, she's making a major announcement and no one is saying anything. And then she says, but then 2 weeks later he called it off. So maybe that's why the girls had that type of reaction, because they already knew that they weren't engaged, but we just didn't know. And I said, oh my God, these girls really don't like Brittany. I don't know how Brittany survives in this group, because to have that reaction every time she says something or does something, to me, I would be very uncomfortable if that were me. But Brittany seems to be a good sport. But anyway, she said that they're still together. So I guess the girls are maybe just tired of the whole merry-go-round with Brittany and Jared, and they're on again, they're off again, they're up, they're down, they're one side, once they're on the left, and then they move to the right, then they split apart, and then they come back together again. So I'm assuming that that's just a whole lot for the girls, and they're not really interested in anything concerning Brittany. So Whitney says that she was glad that she said she was glad to be with the ladies on the RV trip. Of course, she was expecting more. Like she said, this wasn't on my bingo card, but I'm actually glad to be here with you guys. And all the ladies, they were kind of trying to bond and just have a great time. And then Lisa's name comes up again. So this is a really big deal with Lisa. You know, Angie said that Bronwyn knows more than she's letting on. And so Bronwyn goes into this thing where Lisa has all these legal cases. They said that she has like 5 cases pending or something like that. She has 5 lawsuits pending. So I don't know if that's with the Vita. You know, Lisa had a liquor line, like she had a tequila line and all of those things. But they said that she has 5 lawsuits pending. So that is quite a bit. So I'm hoping that Lisa would just come in and tell the truth about it, because we don't want to go all season long with her not really telling the truth and trying to sort of skate around the issue. We need Lisa to like just tell us what's really going on. Angie can sort of compare the situation of Lisa to Jen Shah. And, you know, they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, I think that's when everybody was saying, no, you got this all wrong. It's definitely different. Like whatever Lisa has going on is definitely not as bad as Jen Shah. And I would probably agree to that. We know that, like I said, Jen Shah had some issues where she had some fraudulent activity. I wouldn't go as far as to say that's what Lisa's doing, but we will see. But I just thought that Angie K throwing that out, I didn't think that that was like a good, you know, comparison. So of course we see Heather versus Bronwyn. You know, they have not seen eye to eye, and I think that they will work that out. I think it's almost like a clash of the titans with them. They sort of have that same personality. When they have something to say, they're sort of like, I'm in your face type personality. And so I believe that they will work things out. The group sort of split up, and some of them went kayaking and the other ones went fishing. And of course, Bronwyn and Heather were together. And so they sort of made peace. Let me just say that. I don't want to say that they worked out all of their issues, but they sort of made peace with one another while they were kayaking. So I did write, let me see what I wrote. Oh, this is what got me when I was really, really shocked. This is what actually got Heather and Bronwyn going. So Heather was like, well, you're calling Lisa a liar, but you were the one that lied about the $4 million necklace. And if you guys remember last season, you know, Bronwyn had this jeweler come over to the house and presented her with this $4 million necklace, and they pretended as if Todd bought it for her. Well, that was all a lie, and that came out at the reunion. So Heather actually brought that out during that time, and I was like, oh my God. So Heather and Bronwyn they are like definitely clashing. But when Heather said that, I thought that was like, ooh, like, you know, that sort of like got everything like going with them. But I was glad she said it, because Bronwyn also needed to be held accountable for some things. I think Bronwyn came in hot last year wanting to hold everyone else accountable, but Bronwyn also needs to take some accountability as well. And so I thought also too, which was kind of weird, like I think Angie said with Lisa not being there, she said, you know, everyone seems like they're being themselves. And she actually sort of addressed that to Heather. And Heather was like, no, I'm always myself. She said, the issue I have with Bronwyn has nothing to do with with Lisa at all. So I'm glad that she brought that up, because Angie, sometimes to me, Angie also tries to like come at Heather. I really don't know what it is. She keeps saying that Heather's not being herself. But to me, Heather's not really switching up. I think Heather, I had some issues. Let me just be honest. Heather was one of my favorites since day one. I started having some issues with Heather when she was sort of defending Jen Shah. I had a really, really big problem with Heather then. And although they had issues with Monica with the whole reality Vontees thing, you know, Heather kind of attacked Monica, and I do understand that most people didn't like Monica and they didn't want her on the show, but I think Monica was the most genuine with Heather. So those are the kind of issues that I had with Heather, as far as her taking up for Jen Shah and then sort of diminishing the relationship that she built with Monica. But other than that, Heather pretty much acts the same. So I didn't really agree with Angie K when she said that, but you guys may feel differently, and please feel free to let me know if you feel like, you know, Heather's being fake or something, because maybe I missed something, but to me that is just who Heather is. And I was glad that Heather kind of cleared that up as far as that's concerned. So the ladies, of course, they eat, they they sort of cook out. They're at the campsite. And again, they were at this particular campsite. I'm going to go back and tell you. It was called Provo River Resort and Campsite. Heather even said that some strange things have happened there. And Whitney was telling Angie K that she hadn't done her research about this place. So, like I said, while they were eating, they noticed, Angie K wasn't really prepared. She had hot dogs, but no buns. She had no condiments, but they tried to make the best of the situation. So they actually just decided to get into it and, just kind of relax and say, hey, we're here now, let's make the best of the situation. So they sit down, they're eating their hot dogs and all of those things. And then, like I said, Heather went on to say, was talking about the history of this place, and it goes back to some of the things that were tied to a young lady who went to BYU, during a time, and I think something horrific had happened to this young lady. But they also decide to go hiking. They had their cams, everyone had their camcorders, but again, it's dark. It's late at night, it's dark. They're not familiar with the campsite, but they're just walking. Of course, Mary is complaining about why they're walking in the mud, but the other ladies just feel like it's not safe. Of course, you can hear some of the sounds of nature, maybe some owls and some things, maybe some coyotes are howling, and you hear so many things, and you can tell that the ladies were just saying, okay, we need to just go back to the campsite. It's dark out here. We really don't know where we're going. We don't know what's going on. And all of a sudden you hear like a little bit of commotion toward the end of the episode. And they were saying, where's Meredith? Where's Meredith? So I don't know if Meredith fell along the trail or whatever happened. But again, these ladies are sort of screaming and trying to figure out like what's going on. And that was the episode, guys. Like I said, I am really excited about this season. I think it's going to be great. It got off to a great start. I think the camping trip was a great way for them to bond and to sort of get out their issues and just to let us know this is what we're going to see for this particular season. So it looks like it's just about the entire group against Lisa. Lisa's going to have a lot to answer for, and we will see whatever happens along the way. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And like I said, please leave me a comment. And I know that's not everyone's thing, but please let me know. What do you guys think? Are you excited about this season? How do you feel? Let me just ask you this too, guys. How do you feel about Angie's sunglasses? I know this is like her trademark thing now, but I'm kind of tired of those huge sunglasses. Like, I think Whitney's glasses were perfect. Most of the ladies, Mary always has on a really nice pair of shades, also Meredith. But what do you guys think about this season? Are you excited about it? How do you feel about Lisa not being in the first episode? Also, what do you think about Whitney's hair? Do you like the new look on her, or do you prefer her as a blonde or as a redhead? Let me know. Like I said, what do you think? How do you feel about Mary, sort of giving more this season? I think Mary's going to be excellent this season. Normally, we just hear Mary with like a one-liner or two, but I think she seems to be really incorporating herself back into the group. So tell me what you guys think about this, and we will, just continue to talk about this and have more dialogue as the season goes along. Hang in there with me, guys. This is just episode 1, and I'm going to stick with it all the way. So I hope you guys have an amazing, wonderful day. And like I said, like this video and subscribe to my channel. See you guys soon. Bye.